crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a card featuring Gerda Steiner Designs for the Fall Coffee Lovers Blog Hop, which runs from September 25th to October 2nd, so you have about just one more day to get your coffee cards in for the blog hop. For today's card, I am using the Snowman Friends and the Happy Fall stamp set from Gerda Steiner Designs. I had the idea of incorporating the coffee cup into the squirrel's hand, so the little squirrel will be holding a coffee cup, but I wanted to start by making a background for around the squirrel. I got some requests to do some more techniques with masking, and so for today's video I'm just going to show how you can use simple masking tape for masking. So I have some painter's tape from the Dollar Tree, and I don't want it to be super sticky. So what you'll see that I do is if you rub it along your skin, it takes away some of the stickiness. You can also rub it on your clothes to take off some of that stickiness. And that's important because if it is a really sticky tape, it can pull up your paper project. There are more delicate tapes out there. I just use the dollar store tape. And I've heard though that the frog delicate tape is more paper safe, but I haven't used it myself because I don't mind, just kind of prepping it for what I want. I wanted to basically mask off a rectangle, but also have a stripe down the center that would be left white because that stripe is where I'll eventually put my sentiment, and I'll use it to ground my images. But then on both sides of it, there will be a pattern design, and I'm essentially going to create my own pattern like I do quite often. I really like the idea of being able to combine stamps to create your own unique patterns, because then it makes your card truly one of a kind. It's a little bit tricky, and you get used to it over time in terms of trying to figure out the best way to make your own patterns. This was actually the second time that I did the card, because the first time I did the card it got ripped up when I removed the tape, and so I wound up having to stamp it again because it just wasn't fixable, especially because I was really going for a clean and simple look. A lot of times you can disguise it with a critter, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't use that card, but it wasn't, tutorial worthy because it didn't really explain the process well with that particular error. And also, this is part of my Gerda Steiner design team work, and I need to make sure that I have quality cards for the blog. So what I decided to do was work from the outer edge in, although I think sometimes it would probably make more sense to work from the inside out when trying to create it. And I used just one leaf from the Happy Fall stamp set to mix in with that coffee cup, but you could use a number of leaves, and I find that it's good to have a mix of stamps rather than just trying to fit the one stamp in, because you have some different sizes to work with, and so it might be helpful to have a different leaf too if you're concerned that you are having trouble fitting them all in. I hope that makes sense. And in order to get some quick color on these leaves, what I decided to do was do some more reverse stamping. I know I've been doing that a lot lately, but I wanted to show you how well it works with masking and how it can help you to create really quick cards. You can do all of this and then color in all of the leaves, but that's going to be pretty time consuming. And for a background that I don't really want to be the star of the show, I thought that it would make more sense to simply reverse stamp. And so what I did was I put a little bit of adhesive on my stamp block and then mounted the stamp backwards. And so I'm stamping with the solid back of the stamp as opposed to the front side of the stamp. And I'm using some Hero Art shadow inks. I'm using the ombre ink in the butter to orange to create that yellowish color and the orange color. And then I picked out some individual stamp colors as well. I'm just choosing some fallish colors, and I stamped all the coffee cups the same brown using the brown Hero Arts ombre ink as well. There's nothing special about the ombre inks in this particular card because I just was using them as solid colors, but that is kind of a nice benefit of the ombre inks. Besides doing the ombres, you can use them just for solid stamping and get a little bit more mileage out of them, but then use the ombre when that's what you're looking for. In order to remove the tape, I was going very slowly because, as I mentioned before, I had ripped the paper the first time I tried this and I didn't want that to happen again. but there are some adhesives out there where that's going to be less of an issue, and going slowly certainly does help. So now I have a lot of white space to work with, and I'm ready to stamp my critter. I'm going to be fussy cutting out the critter, which might seem a little crazy at first, but there actually are relatively large areas of lines on this. Like, there's not a lot of small detail work, and I really like the look of the fussy cut, and it would be a lot harder to mask it off in my personal opinion. So I am going to color, and I also like that when I fussy cut out, I can be a little more sloppy with my coloring and color outside the line if that's what I want to do. I'm not sure that I do that here today, but it always is an option. And it also allows me to experiment with an idea before I commit to it. So if I had wanted to mask this off and make it truly one layer, I would have had to know from the start what I was going to do, and I don't always know that. So fussy cutting kind of opens up the possibilities. I'm using the E97 and E99 because I actually want the squirrel to be a pretty reddish brown, and those are some of the most reddish browns I own. I want him to stand out from the background, yet at the same time be very closely linked in color. And so since I'm using oranges and reds and browns in that background, but then I want him to stand out, I kind of pick a color that's a good mix of all those things to color him in. And that way I think that he will, be a complement and a focal point all at the same time. I am flicking in the lightest color, so that's the E97, then pulling in a little bit of the E99, and for some deeper shadows, I'm pulling in the E37. It's going to blend pretty well because it is on the higher end in terms of it ending in a 7, and since the other ones end in a 9 and a 7, it's similar in terms of its what I believe is called saturation. And so that allows it to blend a little bit easier than something that was in, like, say, an E32, for example, might be a little bit harder to blend. In this particular instance, I did not cut out the white centerpiece where the squirrel's tail and the body meet, and I was thinking that's probably going to be okay because I would put him in the white area. Yet, in the end, I decide to not have his feet sitting in the white area, but instead to put his face and coffee cup in there, as though he's kind of like toasting to the fall season. But I actually don't think that that little bit of extra white between his tail even looks out of place, and so I decide to keep it there. And once I have adhered him on with some glossy accents, that's going to be it for the card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, including Copic coloring and more work with Gerda Steiner Designs stamps, you can subscribe to my channel. And also, please follow the link to join in at the Coffee Lovers blog hop. Thanks for watching. Bye.